I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen. Okay, it's Tuesday evening, July 2nd. We're in the town of Bath Municipal Center. Can I have the roll call, please?
There you go. It's very all right. Scott Murphy,
Here.
Susan Webster is here. Elizabeth Skinner. Here. Mary Lynn Hickey. Here. Rebecca McLeod. Here. Greg Sheen.
Here.
And David O'Connell.
Here. Okay, can we have the review of the minutes from the June 18th, 2024 meeting? I'll take any additions or corrections, and we'll have a common consent if we can. Everything looks good to me. Everybody okay? Common consent?
I just need to correct one thing. It's under grants. I am on the Region 9 Planning and Development Council. What I had stated at the last meeting is that funding for BSSW was in their planning. An amount had not been determined. It's kind of, I can't just say, give me money. It doesn't work like that, but I just was reporting out that BSWW was in their funding priority list. Thank you.
Okay. So we've had that correction. Any more corrections? If not, I'll take a common consent from everybody. Okay.
Yes.
Good enough. All right. Before we get our regular monthly meeting started, we are going to have a public hearing on our water tariff ordinance, and I will turn the meeting over to our ordinance chair, Greg Sheen.
Thank you, everyone. I'd like to introduce the members of the ordinance committee. To my left, Town Reporter Susan Webster, Councilwoman Mary Hickey. Also assisting with the process of developing the ordinance is our Finance Committee Chairman David O'Connell to my right. To my left, Councilwoman Rebecca McLeod and Councilwoman Mary Hickey and Town Reporter Susan Webster.
We should call Dave a special advisor,
And Dave was,
considering all he's done.
and then of course our water committee members,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rebecca McLeod, Susan Webster, and Dave O'Connell, our chairman of that committee. Just to give a little bit of background information on the waterworks and the reason for the tariff. It's been 14 years since the water rates have been increased. A lot has gone on within that time frame. You get to the point where your equipment begins to age out, technology changes. Amongst other things, we've had some very critical things occur in the past year or so that we need to address and to tackle head on at this point as it regards to making sure that we ensure that we have a uninterrupted water service. We have the highest quality water certainly in the region, if not in the entire state. Taking the waters at the springs, it's historical, 200 years of taking the water. There are thousands of visitors to the town of Bath each year just for the sole purpose of the waters and the wellness that's offered in this community. A significant part of our economy is tied to the water. So we need to protect our greatest asset, which is the water. And currently we're at an inflection point as a community with the development that's coming as a result of the 522 US bypass and also the US 522 South water extension. So we have a lot on our plate and a lot to tackle. We have a great team that's working on our water committee to make sure that we handle each of these pieces with as much care as possible and as much thought as possible. We realize in looking at things, and Dave will be able to expand on the finances, but one-time 20% increase is significant, and we acknowledge that it's significant. There's no doubt about that. In context, I'll use the minimum bill of 2,000 gallons residential bill is going to go from $32.28 per month to $38.72 per month. So that's what we're looking at. We have a significant amount of our current customers that are on the minimum bill, probably 40% or so in that area. In addition, I mean, we're faced with repairs, high maintenance costs as well. Dave, is there anything that you would like to add before we take questions?
Yeah, actually, would like to give some background if it's not too much. Certainly, the inflation comparison in 16 years is 49%. Hopefully, that's self-explanatory relative to a 20% increase. I would like to point out the kind of confluence of issues that we end up waiting for, which is, for me, it bothers me that we wait until all the problems hit, and then you basically only under crisis management do you address all these issues. Deferred maintenance, personnel turnover, retirements, and of course we had a few crises or incidences past winter, which all of this comes to fruition when you keep basically putting things off. I'm looking at the overage in 24. We're basically, in the last 3 years, we've had a 15% increase in operations and maintenance. That 15%, most of it happened this year. 12% increase in operations and maintenance. We're over budget, over and above that. All of those issues that basically it wasn't just 1 year of things happening. That's that deferred maintenance. Wait until somebody retires, and then all of a sudden, different management, things are going to happen. It's basically you put things off too long. There are some additional stresses coming in. We know about them. We've avoided them. And quite frankly, addressing some of them would have been a good idea. One of them is a 24-hour operation. Had we had somebody working overnight when we had the pump failure, turning off the pumps might have actually helped things a lot. Right? So the 24-hour operation, quite frankly, from a budgeting point of view, I've allocated $50,000 for that. We ought to address that issue. So this is an additional demand, and it is a requirement. There's a need for a second water source. This is also something that I've basically said that we need to start budgeting for it instead of trying to put it off as an expense. That's another $60K. I did break down these additional, the sheet over there, you can actually take a look at it. So what was it going to cost and what is it relative to the increase, the 20% increase, if you were to compare that? The overage was basically meant 5 of those percentage points. That's just what happened this year. Whatever you want to blame it on, that's where 5% of that 20% increase is going, just because of operations and maintenance going over budget in 1 year. The 24-hour operation would be another 4 points in terms of that 20% increase. Preventative maintenance is something we should do. I'm trying to put it on the schedule. That would account for 2 more of that 20% increase. When it comes to R&R is something that is for basically what you would use in your savings to account and pay for bills that happen outside of your normal flow. So basically, repair and replace is what that's for. It's usually for big bills. It's for things that are, it shouldn't be used for day-to-day maintenance kind of things. Additional R&R, basically we had a lot of hit on the R&R. If you look down at the bottom, a few of those things that hit us was a change order. That's like the death threat of any kind of project. The change order means you told the contractor too late. The less we have change orders, the better. The more planning, the more involved we are, the better. The change orders is the real reason why you got to have all this extra money in the hopper. And that's the reason why I put down extra construction contingency. That's 6%, or 6 points of the 20%.
Mhm.
And what I'm saying is that 522 extension, if we do the water treatment plant upgrades, I'm also trying to make sure we have additional contingencies for the, oh crap, we forgot something, and that, basically comes into play after the fact. The water tank management and the water tank management is a cost that just came on this year. Both of these costs, were down at the bottom, you can see the Hawk rental, Claris agreement and the water tank agreement. These are both big costs, and the only reason they're hitting the R&R is because they're big costs. In reality, they should be part of our operations and maintenance, but basically, how are you paying for it? It's a big amount of money. If you look at the water tank management, it was 6 points. What the water tank management is, we're paying somebody to paint the tanks. Debatable, how long do you want to keep paying it? But if we were to cut that contract, it's going to cost us 2 years worth of cutting extra fees. So big costs like that are hitting us basically to a point of like 6%, 6 of the 20% increase. Trying to terminate that would be one thing, but now you have to take care of painting the tanks yourself. So one way or another, you still have to put it in there. Second water source, I'm accounting for 5 of the points in terms of trying to account for that. The second water source is something we really should do. The second water source will allow the system to be more resilient whenever we have a problem here, but more importantly, the extension. So whenever we're getting the new growth, we really want to have that second water source closer to the new customers and in effect start treating them like 2 separate systems. The second water source, each of the systems would back each other up. So I'd like to start going down that path of having resiliency built into the system so that when we have these kind of problems, or more importantly, when the second water source has a problem, they can be backed up. So intelligently planning, but again, everything is a cost. What I'm trying to lay out is what would happen with that 20%. Not all of it is needed for the immediate inflationary problem, right? That's that overgrowth, that's 5%. What are you doing with it and beyond? Basically, that's what I'm breaking out in that additional set asides under R&R. Right now, R&R got whacked to the point of this past year, about half of the R&R budget disappeared just because of, well, most of it was the unplanned paving on Cornelius Avenue. So those are the kind of things that hit you. And then all of a sudden you don't have money to do the upgrades that we should be having. So I hope I didn't overdo that.
Thank you, Dave. That was really, really helpful to kind of set the context around all the circumstances that account for how we got where we are now. Deferred maintenance is really huge, and the longer you defer it, the more expensive it is when you do address it. And we discovered that this year with some of the costs we had. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
I think at this point we want to allow for questions.
Yep, we'll open the floor up. You have 3 minutes to address the council if you have any questions or concerns. So I will open the floor up if anybody.
Any chance you could factor in rollover gallons?
Rollover gallons.
Rollover gallons. Like if you don't use your, what did you use?
It's a minimum of 2,000 in 1 month, then it was allowed to run over to the next
No,
month.
we're not allowed to
Exactly.
do that by the PSC as far as I'm aware
For
of.
billing, you're not allowed to do roll it, you're not allowed to
No.
credit.
No, it's set by the PSC, what the rates are, and then we have to charge per the PSC's rules.
Right, so if the rate is per 2,000 gallons, but you use 1,500, and you're paying for the 2,000, you're getting 1,500. So like you're donating 500 gallons to the good of the community.
That's a nice way to look at it.
Yeah, thank you.
Actually, how about putting on that, this is your fee, but we'd like to thank you for the 500-gallon donation to everyone else who didn't get a chance to use it.
I mean, there has to be a minimum because honestly,
Right.
it's
Yeah,
been staff.
that's why the
They try to
PSC
Write each one
sets.
out.
I have a toilet in
minimum.
a sink and I'm at $38.
Right.
Yeah, does it
Yeah.
burn my butt? Yes,
Yes.
it does, but I also know it takes the staffing and stuff to send me my bill and
And we
Yeah.
gotta go by what the rates are at the PSC. We can't change them unless the PSC says we can.
Right.
Like with this here, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, no other municipality is doing that.
Yeah.
Is your concern that you're consistently lower than the minimum or that you're very erratic in your usage?
I'm consistently below, but not always.
Right.
Sometimes I go over.
If we had a mini level, a 1,000 level, that would make you happy.
Yeah, I think that would make a lot of people happy. Didn't you say at the
There aren't too
beginning?
many people that
Usually-
use only 1,000
No,
gallons.
we
The problem
can't
is,
do that.
you can't do that.
no, you
No.
I'm
It's not
not
sustainable.
I'm only trying to understand.
Yeah.
Not suggesting that we do that. But I want to put on the table for you that usually what happens when you go to that next level, I may be wrong, that you'd end up paying a little bit more. So I'm not sure. I think
you would
we end
pay-
up with a lower rate. We'd end up charging, I think, more for the first 1,000.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it
so
would be
my
more
price per
problematic.
gallon would be more at the mini level. Is that what you're saying?
Then the volume level.
Yeah.
In all likelihood, even if we did the math and worked it out, it would work for you and probably not for the other 98% of the people. That's what I suspect.
You know,
It's a
some-
mystery.
yeah, something that people can also always consider if they like is that in the state of West Virginia, you don't have to have the public water service that is approved by you. You can dig a well. You know, the water line can go right past your house, right past your business, and you can dig a well if you choose.
What I
A lot of people
can't
do that.
I can't attach it to the sewer.
Yeah.
Sewer's a given. That's
Yeah,
nothing.
you have to,
Well, why didn't you tell me this when I set up the office?
Huh?
I have a well.
sorry about your luck,
Well, you chose, you know, wells are an issue too.
but,
Exactly. When they go wrong, it's very expensive.
to drill a new well.
It's really expensive.
I do have a question. I see there's a adjustment for if there's link between your meter and the house, there's a $2 something adjustment. Is that adjustment also go to someone who wants to fill their pool?
No,
I don't have a pool, but I just ask you.
no. The water department does not give you an adjustment because we still had to clean that water. And you're planning on using it. However, the sewer department may give you an adjustment because it's not running down their system.
Okay. Makes sense to me.
yeah. Okay, anybody else? Teresa's question was very good,
Thank you,
so
Teresa.
I wish we could do something like that, but we're kind of held to a standard with PSC, so. Anybody else? All right, then I will close the public meeting, and we will, move on to, communications from the mayor. We have the, chilled cocoa crawl, this weekend, well, actually Friday, from 4 to 8. I guess they're doing it so that you guys can go see the fireworks after, running around town, so, anyway, it's something new they've come up with, and hopefully it'll be as busy as it is on before Christmas when they do it around the holidays. So anyway,
Who's sponsoring that?
I think that
Shops
is
on Fairfax,
The shops on Fairfax?
Abby and Lori.
Oh, okay.
so. And I just want to put out a little thing. Lisa and a few other people got. I can't remember your name. Allison, I'm sorry. I apologize. And Michael, okay,
Jennifer?
and Jennifer, they kind of got together and we were talking, what, 3 weeks ago?
We threw it out.
3 weeks ago, we kind of threw it out and Lisa and I was talking, but we had a get together. It was kind of sudden. It was like 3 weeks, and she had it all organized on Sunday evening from 5 to 8.
It was 5 to 7. We
5
were
to
there till
7.
8. We didn't get kicked out.
Where we got community together. It was a good thing. We're gonna be doing. Lisa's gonna be organizing. Jennifer, everybody's gonna be organizing this for another one coming up sometime here in the near future. So keep your ears open, your eyes open, and hopefully it will work out. We had roughly about 110 people that came out. I know a certain person sitting back there said she'd be happy if just 20 people showed up. So we had 110 people that come out, brought their lawn chairs out. We fried hamburgers and hot dogs and had all sorts of eats that people brought. And so I look for this to hopefully gather steam for a community evening where everybody can get together and just enjoy the company of everybody. And I mean, it was great. Everybody got along. I was really happy. You know, it was just a wonderful night. It was a very wonderful night. So, so I just wanted to give a shout out to our organizers, and we'll look forward to the next date coming up. All right, let's move on. Bath development.
I'm gonna pick off where you left off. And someone from California's calling now. Anybody from California? All right.
Same one we all get.
All right, I'm gonna touch on that a little bit more. What had happened was somebody started a page. And it's a discussion page. And it's kind of great because we've been discussing a lot, and you know, we can solve a lot of the world's problems together, all of us. But anyway, it kind of went on. We decided we wanted to do something with the community. She's like, "What do I think?" I'm like, "Yeah, me. Let's do it." I don't know. We might sit there eating hot dogs and hamburgers by ourselves, but I don't care. So we just kind of got this organized. Honestly, she's the organizer. I just throw things out there and she kind of puts in order. You all know me. That's what happens. So anyway, the whole thing behind it, honestly, is just community. We're not selling anything. No one's allowed to sell anything. Eventually, as we progress this, if it keeps growing, I would really like, I don't know what all boards or our clubs are in this town. I know there's the tree board, there's the cemetery board, and we have the BDA. We have all these volunteer groups. How many times someone come across a post on Facebook saying, "I really want to get into something, but I don't know where to start." I try to send them to the office. Does anyone ever listen to me? No. So my goal, one of my goals with this, besides just community, is I'd like to see some of these people that want members show up, hand out a hot dog, have a little table set. You're not allowed to sell anything, but you are allowed to see if anybody wants to plant flowers or trees, pick up or weed out stuff
Or water.
or
Oh,
water.
not give out weed. Gotcha. Thank you.
That's
I wasn't sure what you said there first.
But it's a good opportunity since we have the community there, and they're always looking for something to do. So, you know, you all know who's involved in what. I'm sure I have not named all of them. I don't even want to try. Here's your opportunity. Show up, bring something or other, and there is a list online. We are working on being able to make sure everyone can update it. That kind of leads me into my ask, which I need to ask the BDA, because even though I'm the president of the BDA, which is why I'm slamming it in here because I've not asked yet. But we can rent the pool. And somebody, I won't mention who, kind of gave me this idea. I think it's $225 or $250 for 2 hours after they close at 5. So between the town and the BDA, who I've not asked yet, if we can all come together and maybe get a little bit of money from the town and BDA. I know everything's tight, but I mean, we'll try and take up donations too, if you like. But it's $250 and it all goes to the pool. Or if someone really knows the pool people well, you can get us a discount. Whatever you want to do. But I would ask for that at some point. The next event,
Maybe in August.
yeah, I'm thinking August, yeah. The one in July, I think we have settled on
The 28th.
the 28th. You'll see it up on Facebook. You don't have to be part of the group to see it. We'll post on an event. You'll be here. That's one of the dates you said. It's a Sunday.
Is there a Facebook group?
The Facebook group is the Berkeley Springs.
Morgan County Discussion Group.
That's the page it originated from. That's where the event will be on, but it will be shared everywhere because we kind of got a little feedback that we didn't share it enough and no one knew about it, but we're going to have some help with that.
No, I called 40 my peeps. I showed. So yeah.
Yeah, we had 110. Michael counted. He used his fingers and his toes multiple times. Did that. Oh, if you know any businesses that would like to donate, like hamburgers, hot dogs, rolls, buns, or anything like that, even if it's just a gift card to Food Line, that's fine. If not, we'll make it work. But the community brought a lot of food. It was great.
Yeah.
So pulling everybody in on that. The next is probably gonna be a little bit bigger. We'll keep on going. When winter comes, I heard somebody, little birdie, told me that Berkeley Springs is getting an ice park, an ice skating, ice rink, something or other. Little birdie told me.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be fun. And we want to move it around. So it's not just gonna be at the park. Depending where the train depot is, I could see kids riding their bike in circles and us doing, I have cones, we can do whatever. Anyway, so that's enough on that unless anyone has questions about our community thing.
Tell me what the date is or what the time is in July.
It'll be, well, and this we have to check. I've not checked with the park to see if the date is open, but
Okay.
We're tentatively scheduled for the 28th.
5 to 7.
So I can get in touch with you, Lisa?
Yep.
Okay.
Or Allison,
Or Allison.
because we all know I don't
Yeah,
answer
anybody
emails
wants
real
to
quick.
come cook, they can come cook.
Hmm?
I said, anybody wants to come cook, they can.
You and Chris did fine. I mean,
You
you had
guys
2
did
men on
great.
the meats, one on either side of the grill. They need.
It was fun.
It was
It was a
fun.
good time.
Somebody got a little wet in the end.
Yep.
We got a picture of that.
You are bad.
All right, now on to the actual official BDA stuff. All right, we are going to the on-track meeting this month. That's what we've been up to. Brianna, where is she? She's not here tonight. I think I got the name right. I always misspeak her name. There's at least 2 of us going, possibly a third if I can suck her into the volunteer part of things. We're going to, where are we going?
Parkersburg.
Thank you, Parkersburg. All I heard was road trip. That is required, but the on-track is moving forward. So I know you guys wanted that done, at least getting it started. There's a whole lot to it. There's a board, eventually a nonprofit, and there's all sorts of things, which I'll keep you in the loop about. The other thing is the website is moving along. I need to circle back with Bill about what's going on with that because that's Bill's baby. And we pretty much had our meeting yesterday about on track and seeing where we're starting. So we're at the starting point. And Brianna's kind of taking the lead on that.
Lisa, what is your vision of the On Track program? Because we've kicked that can down the road several times now, and then we're kind of moved back and it's gone to the chamber. Now it's over at the BDA. How do you see that evolving?
My understanding of the On Track, honestly, it's a lot of resources that we can use, and they have a lot more resources we can tap into. Because everybody wants to know, well, does it provide funding? Because let's face it, that's the biggest question we all have as a small town. They don't provide funding for projects, is my understanding. But if we want a study done or something like that, once you get up to certain things, there's On Track and there's Main Street.
Mm-hmm.
This first meeting would be a good opportunity to find out more information that you want to know. But my vision would be, personally, how old's the On Track data? It's what, 2018, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah.
They are going to come and revise that a little bit, see what we've done, kind of improve on it. So I'm kind of see what their ideas as far as a revised plan. I have no personal goals. I have no idea what I know. I have my own idea what Berkeley Springs needs. But I could be way off because let's face it, I'm a bad consumer.
Well, I look at, at the group as, you don't have goals, they give you goals, or they.
I'm waiting for
because
someone to give me
one of
goals,
the-
yes.
One of
With this
the
on track
things
so
that
far.
they do is you have goals that you have to hit, and she's gonna supply
Yes.
that development authority with that list of requirements that you have to hit these requirements.
I know someone brought up about the signs in town.
I did.
They can
I
do
did
a
that,
study and
just
see if
different
it's
things,
feasible, how it is with the marketing.
Groups to, pull up the daggone weeds growing between the bricks and the sidewalks, and all those kind of things that just enhance, and bigger things too.
And also,
So that
with
was-
this on track's been around forever. It's not costing us anything that I'm aware, except some time.
We
And-
are in it. We are
in it,
And
yes.
they never kick you out,
Right.
is what she said.
We've
Yeah, they
just
don't
never
have
evolved
laughs.
to the
It
Main Street
never-
And
level.
honestly, yes.
Okay.
And honestly, it might be a really good thing that now that they're back into it. 'Cause apparently, what year was that everybody walked out of On Track or something she shared with us? Like, everyone left, they quit.
Yeah, and then there was
The
COVID
staff.
and
And then there was COVID. So they're back at it. We seem to have someone really interested that works for them. And I'm one, the more resources we can get and the more advice we can get, whether we follow it or not, it's never a bad thing.
Okay, are there requirements for dedicated staff?
Only when you hit the main street, which takes 2 years. I don't know where we've been to that, but it takes 2 years to get Main Street status. At that point, we'll revisit. It doesn't take a part, and when you hit Main Street, if you have under 5,000 people in the town, you have to have a part-time person,
Under 5,000.
1,000 in the town.
Not 500.
Or in the, not the town, the area that they have allocated as under the project.
The district, they
Whatever.
kind of line, they don't take the whole town. It's kind of like the business district was my.
I don't know where their lines are.
Greater Berkeley Springs.
And it may get readjusted with them revising it. But when you hit the Main Street, that is one of the conditions. There's also some conditions to the Main Street that I can give you a little bit into, but don't take it as gospel, because remember, we haven't went to this meeting yet. But there was something with the historical district that was already voted down. I don't know, but it doesn't mean you have to. Again, these are things I don't know. I just know they're in my brain to keep an eye on and make sure we're not getting into something by taking that next step. Again, we can stay an on-track town forever. We don't have to go to Main Street if we don't want to, if we find that some of the stuff they want is not feasible here. But for the
But
on-track,
why would we want to stay on track if basically the only benefit would be a periodic study?
there is funds available for the on-track. They're just lower down from where the Main Street is.
Technical assistance.
Technical assistance we can get.
Yeah.
And the technical assistance was we have the guy that'll come in and for the architecture reviews and stuff, like if you wanted to do a facade on something, and he'll come in and give free advice and a plan and a workup to do it.
Design assistance.
And then we have a
Yes.
technical,
Yes.
the technical side is, if you want a study done for a parking garage or a feasibility study for whatever, name it, they'll probably do it.
There are other small towns, smaller than ours, she said,
Yes.
Beverly, West Virginia, Parsons.
Right, there's
Ravenswood,
4 parts of
Lansing.
this. There is, I'll get my memory, I didn't bring my notes. There's
Written down.
fundraising, there's organizing,
Mhm.
there's historical something,
Mhm.
and there is
Promotions.
Promotion.
promotions.
Promotion, which is events and activities. I brought my notes. Economic vitality, which is involving the business and property owners. Organization-based, which is the fundraising aspect, budgeting, fundraising, the organizational,
Mhm.
the group, the president, the treasurer, all those jobs, and design. Those are the 4
Yes.
things that I wrote down.
The paid position is mandatory when you hit Main Street, not before.
Full or part-time?
Part-time.
Part-time. Once you get over 5,000 people, it's part-time, or full-time. What was I gonna say? And that can be subcontracted out, we talked about that. When you hit the Main Street, in order to become a Main Street, it has to be its own 501(c). And out of all this, that one's the one that scared me the least. That's easy, that's $700 some and someone to run it.
We also deal with other groups like the ARC and Downtown Appalachia and.
They can also point us where to get grants if they're applicable. We send her an idea, she might know of a grant. If someone were to write grant, I know we have our grant writer. But if someone else were to write the grant and need to be reviewed, and you were busy or you had a grant, we can send to them, they will review the grants. They will make sure when they go in, we're good to go. Apparently there's grants for cemeteries, we found out,
Yeah,
that no one ever applies for.
Yeah.
Which isn't related to the on-track, but we got that information.
they said the board or whoever, they require at least 5 people. Some boards have 7, some have 9, but some have 5 people on the board.
And for currently, I believe the BDA will end up being the board for a while. But once it gets rolling, I don't know why we can't subcommittee it off to another 5 and then get rolling into the 501(c). See, that would be a good start.
Okay, so BDA is okay with
we didn't vote on it, but I don't see why not. I mean, besides the website, kind of need something to do.
Right,
I'll just say it like it is, sorry.
okay, all right.
And I'm game for as much as I have time. I'm game, it's getting better. But no, you said the end goal. It's a third look. It's a whole new perspective looking in because we've had all these studies. And it's actually somebody that's actually going to come in and give us, hopefully, ideas, not just leave us with this plan and then leave.
Okay.
And also hold us accountable, which is what we all need.
If I could add one comment too, and again, I'm excited that BDA is going to be the central node of this, but in case you didn't catch it, there's opportunities to help the planning director. They'll do strategic plans, they'll do parking lot plans, they'll do a lot of your studies for you. We talked about the design work they can do that Susan already talked about, historic preservation. So again, HLC folks should be engaged. We talked about grant folks. So it's not just BDA's doing this. It's going to involve and provide opportunities for a lot of the other committees within the town as well. So I think it's has a great opportunity to generate a lot of tempo for us for a lot of these programs we've been trying to push along.
And the executive director is not to be doing the work. They are to, the executive director checks out what the board is doing. The board has committees, so the committees report back to that person on the board. The board then reports to the director to make sure we're all in line and doing what we should do. So, which that would also eventually be the part-time position, would be the director. Yeah, I really thought I was getting off scot-free on that one. It wasn't.
Yeah.
But
Very
that's, any other questions or concerns?
Very good.
Thank you.
But we're 2 years out probably from Main Street.
Yeah.
Okay, you're done with it.
All right, thank you, Lisa. All right, let's move on to Parks and Recs. Nobody's here, so let's move on down to the Planning Commission.
So we will not be meeting this Thursday on the 4th of July. Nobody will be sober enough to participate.
Amen.
So we have pushed the meeting to the 11th.
Okay, any questions for Larry? All right,
What time should I be there and what's going on in the?
Rails and Trails.
Getting old. Okay, you got my note on what's going on, right? Did that get handed out?
Yes.
Okay.
We've had it.
Read it, all right. Thank you. The rail trail meeting, I think we're aiming for the 24th. That's the fourth Wednesday, which is the traditional day for that. I got a lot of work to do to bridge up what is actually going on down in Charleston and stuff like that. So I've been out of the loop. And also, I got a note into Bill and Joel about what exactly are they expecting out of the task force now? Because I have a silent answer to that, so I got to check in with those guys to see what they want. Because basically, that's like I kind of run the task force for them and my own, fun. So that's going to happen. Streetscape, yep, we're going to do that third Thursday at 9. What's going on is all the stuff we rushed to put in place, meet all the deadlines. I don't know. We met all the deadlines. The things are starting now to get, the wheels are turning in Charleston to get certain things done. They've got to evaluate them. I don't have an answer as to when they're going to make an announcement. We never know that. It's sort of a surprise. They've accepted both of the grants as far as the applications. I'll do some checking in with Tim Sadowski periodically to see how that's going. The active one is the design grant that we got notified in April. Sharon got a letter this week officially telling us we won that grant. It's a grant for design, not for the construction. They left the word design out, but it doesn't matter. We know what it was for because it's only 70,000. You do not do construction in this world for 70,000. So we have a end of month meeting with folks down at Project in Charleston, Josh Benson, and what's his name, the new guy. We cover this stuff. So it's going. I've talked to Jeff Dole. We've got a basic scope worked out. So and the drill is that they get a scope, then we get to have another discussion about the funding agreement, and the town comes up with the 20% share of whatever we decide to do, and I think probably we will get the entire funding into it. It may not all be in the Thrasher agreement. That gets run on to federal highway, and then sometime in the future, we start a design. So it's not gonna rapidly happen. I'm doing a sort of analysis of the streetscape account, which fills from hotel motel and drains from all of the share that we have to do. And we have an additional share to get phase 5 awarded. We have a share to get the design going, a number of things like that. I want to make sure that the flow works out positive when we need the money. There's a big lump coming to fund either the phase 5 lighting, which I think we should be able to handle. And then the big chunk is the phase 6 construction, which I think is well away in the future, giving us time to get there on the town thing. And the some degree of progress on the state park consent order. You signed after agreement and a resolution from there last couple of weeks ago. You signed it. The clock doesn't tick on the 30 days until the other guy signs it. So you'll hear, you may be the first to know, but they'll mail it to us or however they want to get it. That starts the 30-day clock. That makes that point, the fine is due. And at that point, we have to provide them with a proposed corrective action plan. Though the corrective action for the actual spill is well behind us.
Right.
I built it into what's in front of it. I'm writing that. I've talked with Tim Sadowski and gotten DOH headquarters to take a look at that because I'm going to make recommendations to change some of the ways that the DOH drawings and such like that to prevent it. The whole idea is to prevent it. Once it's, I hate to say this is like nuclear waste. Once it's happened, it's happened. You can't undo it.
Right.
You can't unsee it. So, so we've got Tim has agreed to do it, working with Watts at D5. And then today I got a letter from an attorney at DOH who has laid out some things about what is and isn't possible in the recovery of the fine. So I'm going to do something with that. But that's a sort of a separate thing to paying the fine. That was the how to get reimbursement for the payment. Not giving up on that, but at least now I think we've got all the little chunks of DOH involved in this.
Right.
And the next thing will be for the town to agree on here's what the corrective action plan should look like. I'm up to draft 2 of it. And then that will go on to DOH Charleston and D2, D5 for their input. I'm not leaving a lot for the input because our recommendations are going to have a lot to do with what they need to do with the drawings, what they need to do. And principally, we should be able to address the true quandary about, as a permittee holder, how do you intervene in a DOH contract without causing a legal case?
Right.
That was the problem. That was the whole problem. And this plan is our chance to fix it, to get at least what are the rules? How do you do this? To not end up having a fine because you tried your best with all the folks you know,
Right.
to stop something that you couldn't stop.
Right. My thing all along has been, it was supposed to be a DOH inspector there keeping all this from having or reporting
Well-
or talking to, that was my
There was.
impression.
There was.
That there was, but
And they were notified.
They were notified. They did nothing.
they did nothing.
And
So-
they have
And we have to
no
pay the fine.
liability for that stance.
I hate,
Apparently.
yes, there's
It
a,
isn't right.
I don't know, have you seen the letter I got?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
We know.
it has a tendency to answer that question.
Right.
Not in a way you'll be happy about.
No.
But we've gone this far. I knew the legal it was coming because it was an attempt to get somebody else's money.
Yeah.
Somebody who's in bankruptcy.
We need to get this changed.
DOH has the money for the bond.
Yeah.
They believe
Yeah.
had money
They
for
do.
one.
And
But they also.
I don't care whether Delauder
But-
ponies
but-
up the
but-
money. I
Right.
think DOH needs to pony up their
Absolutely, and that's
bond.
why I
Well-
feel that we need to get some of our local representatives involved in it and get them on the horn saying, look, guys, you know, they've got the money, it's in the, you know, and it can be paid from that, you know, why lay it on a little town
You've got,
that 600 residents to pay for that?
you're probably gonna need some help.
Yep.
This kind of tells you what the help might look like.
Well, you know, this needs to be changed at a legislative
Level.
level if necessary,
Yeah.
because this is just plain wrong. A little town is put into a situation, they have hired, they're paying our tax dollars to pay an inspector to stand there. The inspector does nothing, the inspector has had this reported to them, they do nothing, then it's our fault? That
After
doesn't,
we reported it,
Yeah.
that doesn't
so
compute.
doesn't make any
Well,
sense.
we're at the point of seeking compensation and reimbursement
Recovery.
for the fine.
Recovery's our
It's
best
probably a byword, yes.
bet.
And that, we're gonna need some help with that.
Right.
And I think this,
Yeah.
the letter I got, which you see, tells you a little bit about what the help might look like.
We may go down a different path.
Okay.
We'll
But-
work on that, so. Okay,
Thank you.
I have something, for Streetscape. I attended the ADA compliance in public right-of-ways workshop that was put on by the Hagerstown Eastern Panhandle Metropolitan Planning Organization. And it was, it brought the West Virginia Local Technical Assistance Program staff to Charlestown to, give presentations about some of the work that we're doing, the ADA corners, things that towns can do, things that they need to watch out for, reports that we need to make sure that we stay in compliance with. And part of that, after the presentations, we walked around Charlestown and their sidewalks.
Right.
And it gave us an opportunity to talk with Ray Patrick, who has advised us on a number of ADA corners, and Dr. Ron Eck, who was here back earlier and did one of our original studies connecting the source, where he made a lot of recommendations about what we could do with the sidewalks and got us rolling on, I guess, right after we had started our streetscape program. What they told me was the town of Bath is an example for West Virginia small towns. They're extremely pleased with the efforts that we've been doing and how we've been using the Department of Highways TAP grants, the Alternative Transportation Alternatives Program grants to address these issues. They were extremely pleased with what we'd accomplished along those lines. And I can tell you that they gave us some goggles, and we had a wheelchair, and so that you couldn't see, and tried to wheel down the streets of Charlestown. And the streets of Charlestown are extremely difficult to navigate because they're torn up, they're sideways, they haven't been really doing much. Their corners don't, even though DOH had done some of their corners, they don't meet standards. They had curbs where you would fall over if you, I was in the wheelchair and I was like falling off the curb, like drifting the whole time. Extremely difficult.
wow.
Obstructions in the way everywhere. So I was really psyched to hear that, that they think that we're doing a great job. And they said that we do have a transition plan, and we should be promoting the fact that we have an ADA transition plan.
Yeah.
We didn't think we did. We thought it was a bad thing, so we never check it on the grant applications, but they review those
Oh,
and
okay.
they make recommendations. So
That's
was great.
Because I know that we've done better than a lot of towns,
Yeah.
much larger.
I was shocked
Yeah.
because they have a lot of money coming in. And so I asked them what they did with their hotel motel tax, and 50% goes to the convention center and 50% goes to Parks and Rec. They don't put anything in for their.
Wow.
Rebecca, when it comes to the ADA, the wheelchair example, the corners are paid for and done. That one I understand. The sidewalk condition that's in between the corners can be very treacherous.
Right.
And it doesn't matter where you're at.
Right.
In that respect. does ADA requirements or assistance do anything for us to think about in terms of how we could do improvements on the sidewalks themselves?
Because West Virginia transition plan that was required back in 92 and not implemented until, they didn't start implementation until 2013, focused primarily on meeting the obligations of the ramps, because they said that was their primary focus right now, because if you couldn't even get on the sidewalk, it didn't matter what the condition was in between the two ramps. So they had such a backlog to do, and that's where they've been spending most of their dollars. They've got, they're well along the way of addressing all of the ramps on West Virginia public roads. They used to do it only whenever they were paving a new street. So you remember when 522, suddenly we got our ramps because they were going to pave it, and they realized that they were not doing as many ramps as they should. So they were able to get more funds diverted. So now they're doing the ramps all over the place. But that's where our transportation alternatives grants come in. We do the sidewalks and the ramps that are not on state right-of-ways, but on town right-of-ways.
Is the sidewalk issue, and this is because I come from a different area, not from around here, sidewalks, I'm used to the notion of the homeowner has responsibility for the sidewalks. What is the prospects of us being able to do anything, I'll say, in cooperation with the owners?
That came up, and some towns have considered putting liens on properties or requiring residents to pay into a fund to have the sections of sidewalk done in front of their properties. To me, that's an additional levy, tax levy, that would have to go through all of the requirements that a municipality would have to do to have an excess levy. And right now,
Election.
it would
Have to
be,
be voted on.
it's a significant lift.
Yes.
So our, right now, I think and they're pretty pleased with the way we're approaching it. At least, we've got our plan for the core business area, the 6-block core business area that we've been chipping away at now over the course of 12 years.
Seems like forever.
13 years.
Each time we put in a grant, it finishes or fixes the sidewalks on that street, both sides, in between the ramps,
right,
where we can. There's a problem of they don't like maintenance, like fixing a plate here and a plate there. They don't really like that. But generally, we haven't done that. And with one of the grant applications, we actually put in North Wilk Street, where it's now been paved. And we actually got some design money for that, which was diverted for another reason, but it was accepted as a grant request. So that's outside the core. So I figured, that's a precedent. At some point, we'll put in a real one for that. And that's, the discussion there is that between the residents and Thrasher, the designer, and how you figure out, what are you going to do? You got a nice pavement, but you got some funny sidewalk or not. And, do you get a good one on one side, or, get a safe
But
part?
we do have a similar situation now that we're going to be tackling on Wilk Street here. So we'll see how that one works and how the cost comes in. And once we get the main core, business core, which was always a priority, we can start branching out to residential areas.
Yeah, so there's that. They seem to like us with that program, so we keep that going.
They do.
And
Should.
Worked hard for it.
and keep that going as far as we can, in the same fashion, with the same ideas and the same delivery. It's expensive because DOH does the contracts, but they also provide most of the money. It's, it doesn't end. It's one of those
Thank you,
things that.
Bill, for the great work you put in.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's much appreciated. It's
It's,
wonderful.
it's nice to see it when it happens, and you just have to be patient.
Yeah.
And every now and then there's a little fly in the ointment, which is the state park problem. But there's a,
We'll
there's-
get it
The
worked
general
out.
continuum is really positive, and you can see the results out here on the
that's,
street.
the whole
And that's-
idea is to show results. And
Exactly.
this next one, the phase 5, yeah, we'll get that contract, we'll get it awarded, we'll get the funds to do it. Is gonna show up for folks who go down this corridor
Yeah.
to town. And that's, I think that's a big deal. That's why, I don't, you can remember back, how did we pick these streets? Those little stickers on maps.
Yep.
What, the day the rain garden on Concord Street was opened up. And it was an overwhelming, I mean, we still have the pictures of these things, of all the dots all over them. And
Yep.
it was Independence and this here on Wilkes. And that's exactly what we said we'd do.
You know how the first phase was chosen, was we were afraid to have it really on Main Street in case we totally failed. So we went back to Wilkes and did Wilkes Street
We
from.
didn't think we were gonna fail.
It
We
was-
did not fail, but
It was-
this is our first time doing that. and
Practice.
so-
Yes.
That was
Yeah.
the prototype.
Absolutely.
If
How it
doesn't
works.
Come out like we want, at least we're not on the Main Street. But, yeah, and then the second phase was, it was changed because the courthouse had burned, so we were able to use courthouse money as a match.
Yeah.
So,
For the
you know,
sidewalks and
just
stuff.
kind
Yep.
of kept massaging the situation at the time.
Yep, we've done it. We've made a lot of improvements. So, and
Oh,
So I
our,
would encourage anybody who visits Charlestown to take a stroll around.
Or not.
So if people got it,
all right.
Without the
Well,
golf.
Thank you.
let's move on. Train Depot?
oh, yeah, that place.
Yep, that
Okay,
place.
tomorrow I'm going to call first, but go in and try to get in contact with Richard Gay, considering our lease. You know, our town's attorney was very struck ill last week, and so has been out for a couple days. He is supposed to be back in the office tomorrow, and so I'm going to be going in and seeing what he has as far as the lease. There was just one item that we wanted added, having to do with events from other groups and exhibits within the lobby of the depot. And hopefully I can walk away with something in hand tomorrow, if not really quickly, you know, and we can get it to Travel Berkeley Springs and move on from there. So everyone is settled with a great direction I've been waiting for a long time. We did have our shows at the Ross Martin, Miss Isabella shows the last weekend. And Ross sends us a report. I don't know if Sharon sends that around. She might. He sends us a report in on the take and like that. We'd like to have a few more people there. It could use bumped up a little bit as far as attendance, but it's a great show. And the next shows are July the 19th and 20th at 7:30. So if you aren't doing anything those nights, go by and see Ross. It's a wonderful show.
We have a poster out here.
I think, yes, yes, we do. So, you know, we got to press it. So, that's it. Thank you.
All right, Nick, thank you, Susan. Landmarks Commission, nobody here.
We need to talk. to them.
Yeah, we
We
need to,
need to talk to them.
yeah, we need to get a hold of them and have them come in and give us a report.
Yes.
Clerk and Recorder's report, Madam Clerk, I see we have a budget revision here.
Yes, it's just an internal budget revision. It's just to align my budget so that when I'm doing my next year, I have everything in order.
Okay. So council, we have a budget revision. I would,
I make a motion that we accept the budget revision as presented by the town clerk.
Second.
have a motion second on the floor, to the budget revision that our town clerk has recommended. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
And then we also have just a building permit acknowledgement for Martinsburg Road. She's putting up a fence and a patio. And that will be submitted to the assessor. Yep.
All right. Do you have anything, Madam Recorder? Okay. All right, let's move on to finance. Let's pay some bills.
Okay, I make a motion that we pay the town of Bath bills in the amount of $2,070.66.
Second.
Have a motion and a second on the floor to pay the town of Bath bills in the amount of $2,070.66. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Make a motion that we pay the Berkeley Springs Waterworks bills in the amount of $13,515.59.
Second.
Have a motion and a second on the floor to pay the Berkeley Springs water bills in the amount of $13,515.59. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Make a motion that we pay the Berkeley Springs Waterworks repair and replacement bills in the amount of $1,241.51.
58 cents.
58. Where did you get that over one?
Second.
Thank you, accountant.
Second.
Thank you, analyst.
We,
It's
we
good to
have,
have an analyst on board.
we have a motion and a second on the floor to pay the Berkeley Springs Waterworks repair and replace bills in the amount of $1,241.58.
Those 7 pennies would have.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I make a motion we pay the Greenway Cemetery bills in the amount of $3,600.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to pay the Greenway Cemetery bills in the amount of $3,600. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Make a motion we pay the train depot bills in the amount of $39.80.
Second.
Have a motion and a second on the floor to pay the train depot bills in the amount of $39.80. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Make a motion that we pay the tree board bills in the amount of $195.
Second.
Have a motion and a second on the floor to pay the tree board bills in the amount of $195. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
I make a motion that we pay the hotel motel tax disbursement in the amount of $27,442.31.
Second.
Have a motion and a second on the floor to pay the hotel motel disbursements in the amount of $27,442.31. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. All right. Is that all we have, finance chair? Okay.
May I ask a question at this time?
Yes.
I was just curious about the hotel motel disbursements. Do you make those disbursements public in the paper or anywhere?
No.
She's right there.
Shit.
Yep.
I will.
Do you, oh,
Hi,
Yeah.
Trish Rutter,
hello.
Morgan Messenger.
And you put them in the paper, the itemizations?
I will.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Tree board?
We're preparing to submit a grant to the West Virginia Division of Forestry. And Sharon, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we have entered into the final steps of closing the 2024 grant.
Yeah.
So we should be reimbursed,
All
we
right.
hope, in a reasonable period of time.
Okay. All right. Anything else? All right. All right. Grants committee?
Thank you, Scott.
Yes.
Kate's comments, Scott, Rebecca, and Pete, really, I just want to lift up that the process of bringing grant money into this community is a very decentralized effort. I am the head of the grants committee and we look for new money. But there are these pre-existing, what's been going on with Rebecca and Pete has been going on for 12 years and continues to go down the track. It's a lot of money. And as we've just talked about, it really does make a big difference in our community and the aesthetic and the quality of life for our communities. So just want to make that remark to invite appreciation for the fact that this is a larger effort beyond what the grants committee proper is doing. Right now, we are looking at funding for a town website. That's our new focus while we're waiting on a few grants, including the COPS grant that was recently dropped, to find out the status of those. So that's what we're working on. And our next meeting is next Monday at 4:30, July 8th.
All right. Okay, public safety, which is me. Madam Administrator, do you have anything?
Nothing to report.
Nothing? Okay, you've waited back there all that time to say that, haven't you?
Woo!
Woo!
That's what we pay her.
All right. Our Public Safety Committee will be meeting next week on the 10th at 4 p.m. I may not make that meeting. 3. Yeah, we changed that. I might have to be on the phone. So,
I would like to add, Scott, on public safety, that our second parking enforcement officer has started. So, please be aware, if you're out there on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, we do have a second parking enforcement officer that is working diligently. And I spoke to him yesterday. He put in 20,000 steps that he was very proud of. So he's very diligent about his job. So
So meters are now covered Monday through Saturday.
that is correct. Yes.
Heads up.
yep.
Yay, Sunday.
Yay, Sunday.
Yay, parking lots.
Just fair warning.
Anything else that,
And federal.
all right. Let's move on to cemetery.
The mausoleum is very quickly closing to completion and may be done as early as this week. We have one more small decision to make about the pillars. Otherwise, we should pretty much be done with it. Rebecca is keeping an eye on the grass in the cemetery to determine whether or not we can stop mowing. Do you want to talk about that, Rebecca, a little bit?
Cool season grass goes dormant in the summertime. We're gonna mow it one last time, I guess, to knock down all of the weed seeds that are popping their heads up. Rodney has been trying to keep the mower together enough to mow behind the rain garden, which is the space that the town has agreed to take over. And the staff is weed eating the guardrail area as they can. Once the mausoleum is completed and the stain is cured, then we'll get the public works guys up there on top to scrape back the old shale that's been put on top, so that we've got positive drainage away from the structure, so it's not coming forward around the building, the front of the building, and we'll get some decent soil on top of it so that we can actually grow grass instead of shale.
Okay.
That's all we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Public Works.
The public works staff has been continuing with the curb painting, and if you look around town, it looks really fresh with the yellow. They've got about 70% completed. It's a color palette: yellow, blue, white, and red. So they've had to make sure that they paint in the right spot. Right now, they're just painting where we've had paint before. However, they will be avoiding the streets that we are about to start construction on. So they're not going to do those. So that means Independence between Washington and Mercer will not be painted until afterwards. And I told them to go ahead and hold off on Congress Street because that's the next street that we'll be doing. But we may revisit that depending on when we think we're actually going to get the grant. The parking is a little strange on that street on the south side, so we probably need to take a look at that and see what we want to do. And we discussed rental of our 4-yard dumpsters, and we're probably going to make a recommendation to ordinance committee to address that.
And trash pickup is Wednesday as in tomorrow.
Yep.
Okay.
Right, it's a federal holiday on Thursday, so the guys, try to make a, make sure that they get what they can on Wednesday, and they occasionally, if they have time, will sneak by on Friday, but, yeah, put your trash out on Wednesday.
All right.
Okay. All right, ordinance.
Ordinance, at the beginning of the, when the new council came in last year about this time, we set a very ambitious schedule of new ordinances, and the water tariff will complete, our goal as far as the new ordinances are concerned. So I just want to thank my colleagues on the ordinance committee for, putting up with me, and of course, they added so much value. And again, we really climbed a mountain, and I'm really proud of what we've accomplished. And again, the water ordinance is the last piece for the first year. And with that, we'll dive right into the new ordinance. This is the Town of Bath Berkeley Springs ordinance for setting forth the rates, fees, and charges for service to customers of the water system of the Town of Bath Berkeley Springs. Whereas Chapter 24, Article 2, Section 4B of the West Virginia Code, effective July 1 of 1981, as amended, provides that municipality-operated public utilities have approval authority to set their own rates and charges, and whereas the current rates and charges for the water utility service provided by the Town of Bath are insufficient to fund its current operating costs, including the maintenance of the water system, and whereas the 2015 legislature amended Chapter 24 of the West Virginia Code to require all municipalities to maintain a working capital reserve, and whereas in order to provide revenue sufficient to pay the expenses of operations and to provide working capital reserves and capacity capital cost reserves, Town Council of the Town of Bath deems it necessary to increase the rates and charges for furnishing water utility service and to establish capacity capital cost fees. Council of the Town of Bath Berkeley Springs hereby ordains the following rules: rates, charges, and fees are hereby fixed, determined, and established for the municipal water service provided to all general, domestic, commercial, and industrial users of the Town of Bath's municipal water system, commencing upon the effective date as hereinafter provided, and in lieu of those rates, fees, and charges currently contained in the town's water tariff PSC West Virginia number 14, currently on file with the Public Service Commission of West Virginia. Rules and regulations for the government of water utilities adopted by the Public Service Commission of West Virginia now in effect, and all amendments thereto and modifications thereof hereafter made by said commission. Residences which have been converted into 2 or more separate living quarters will be supplied with service through separate meters, provided, however, that in instances where this is impracticable, such residences may be supplied with service through a single meter, and the owner or lessor of the residence will be billed under the applicable residential service schedule, with billing blocks increased in proportion to the number of living quarters served. The plumbing on premises of all new customers will be equipped with a shutoff valve. In the event the town is required to turn off the water to customers not having a shutoff valve, services will not be resumed until the customer has installed a shutoff valve. Multiple occupancy. On apartment buildings or other multiple occupancy buildings, each family or business unit shall be required to pay not less than the minimum monthly charge herein established for a 5/8" meter. Motels and hotels shall pay according to the size of the meter installed. Trailer courts, house trailer courts shall be provided with a master meter. No bill shall be rendered for less than the minimum bill herein established for a 5/8" meter, multiplied by the number of units situated on the court site at the time the meter is read, or the actual charge for the size meter installed, whichever is greater. House trailer, as used here and above, shall include both mobile and immobile units. House trailers, either mobile or immobile, located on sites other than a park or court, shall be billed in the same manner as any other family or business unit. Applicability, applicable within the entire territory served by the Berkeley Springs Water Works. Availability, available for general, domestic, commercial, and industrial sale and for resale service. Rates, first 2,000 gallons used per month, $19.36 per 1,000 gallons. Next, 3,000 gallons used per month, $13.99 per 1,000 gallons. Next 50,000 gallons used per month, $11.20 per 1,000 gallons. All over 55,000 gallons used per month will be billed at $5.66 per 1,000 gallons. Minimum charge. No bill will be rendered for less than the following amounts per month according to the size of the meter installed. 5-inch meter, 2,000 gallon equivalent, $38.72 per month. 3/4-inch meter, the equivalent gallons, 3,385, $60.53 per month. A 1-inch meter, equivalent gallons, 6,439, would be billed at $100.90 per month. A 1.5-inch meter, equivalent to 15,070 gallons, will be billed at $201.75 per month. 2-inch meter, equivalent gallons of 25,448, will be billed at $322.80 per month. 3-inch meter, equivalent gallons 49,640, will be billed at $605.25 per month. 4-inch meter, 117,677 equivalent gallons, billed at $1,008.75 per month. 6-inch meter, equivalent 344,790 gallons, billed at $2,017.50 per month. And an 8-inch meter, equivalent to 675,877 gallons.
79.
679,877, thank you, Mary, billed at $3,228 per month. Return check charge, a service charge equal to the actual bank fee assessed to the utility, or a maximum of $25 will be imposed upon any customer whose check for payment of charges is returned by their bank due to insufficient funds. Private fire protection service. 1-inch service line with hydrants, sprinklers, and/or hose connections, $15.63 per month. 2-inch service line with hydrants, sprinklers, and/or hose connections, billed at $20.83 per month. 3-inch service line with hydrants, sprinklers, and/or hose connections, billed at $32.29 per month. 4-inch service line with hydrants, sprinklers, and/or hose connections, billed at $43.75 per month. 6-inch service line with hydrants, sprinklers, and/or hose connections, billed at $56.25 per month. 8-inch service line with hydrants, sprinklers, and/or hose connections, billed at $68.75 per month. Delayed payment penalty. The above tariff is net on all accounts not paid in full when due. A penalty in the amount of 10% will be added to the net current amount unpaid. This delayed payment penalty is not interest and is to be collected only once for each bill where it is appropriate. Water disconnect, reconnect, administrative fees. Whenever water service has been disconnected for any reason, a disconnection fee of $35 shall be charged. Whenever water service which has been previously disconnected for any reason is reconnected, a reconnection fee of $35 shall be charged. A $35 reconnection fee will be assessed for each occurrence where water service is restored after being terminated for non-payment. Equipment damage and tampering. The property owner will be held responsible for any damage to or otherwise tampering with the utility's water system, which includes but is not limited to all piping and meters used and useful in providing water service and all appurtenances thereof. Damaging and/or tampering with the utility's water system is prohibited under West Virginia Code 61-3-45. Violators shall be subject to potential termination of service, fines, and penalties not to exceed $2,000, in addition to the replacement costs inclusive of material and labor for damaged equipment. Tap fee. The following charge of $850 is to be made whenever the utility installs a 5/8 or 3/4-inch new tap to serve an applicant. Time and material for any 1-inch tap or greater will be charged to serve an applicant. A tap fee of $850 will be charged to customers who apply for service outside of a certificate proceeding before the commission for each new tap to the system. Meter testing fee, a charge of $35 will be applied for any meter test requested by the customer. Leak adjustment, $2.34 per 1,000 gallons is to be used when the bill reflects unusual consumption in excess of 200% of the customer's historical usage that can be attributed to leakage on the customer's side of the meter. Security deposit, $75 or 2/12 of the average annual usage of the applicant's specific customer class, whichever is greater. Municipal excise tax surcharge. The municipality listed below having imposed a public utility tax computed on the basis of 2% of the revenue from water sales by the Berkeley Springs Water Works within the corporate limits of such municipality, said tax bill as a surcharge to the customers receiving service within said corporate limits. The water utility is required to collect a utility tax pursuant to West Virginia Code 813-5A. Customers receiving water service within the corporate limits of the specified municipality shall pay a surcharge based on the following surcharge rate: Town of Bath 2%. Capacity capital cost fees. We talked about this a little bit, and the importance of adding this to our tariff. We are probably one of the second or third here in the Eastern Panhandle to do so, but this allows us and it protects us against new development projects, residential, industrial, and commercial. So, for instance, if a builder decides to build single-family detached properties, there's an $850 TAP fee, which would have been the only revenue we had generated in the past. Now we will generate additional $1,500 per unit. So if they're building 50 houses, $75,000 to the Town of Bath. All that information is available in the new tariff. So I'm not reading down every single item that's included in here, but it does apply to both new and new residential and commercial construction. Let me share that.
Within the service area,
Within the
right?
entire service area of both Town and Bath, and
Thank
to
you. That's important
serve,
to know.
and for those new development projects down 522 South and anywhere near the bypass or wherever we're required to provide service to.
Perfect. Thank you.
Again, that's also has to deal with some of the comments Dave made earlier regarding a secondary water source. The effective date of the tariff set forth herein shall be 45 days from the passage of this ordinance. The provisions of this ordinance are severable, and if any clause, provision, or section hereof be held void or unenforceable by the Public Service Commission or any court of competent jurisdiction, such holding shall not affect the remainder of this ordinance. Upon the effective date hereof, all ordinance, resolutions, orders, or parts thereof in conflict with the provisions of this ordinance are, to the extent of such conflicts, hereby repealed, and to the extent that the provisions of this ordinance do not touch upon the provisions of prior ordinances, resolutions, orders, or parts thereof, the same shall remain in full force and effect. Upon introduction hereof, the recorder shall cause to be published notice of this ordinance in the Morgan Messenger, a qualified newspaper of general circulation to the Town of Bath, as a Class 1 publication at least 5 days before the meeting of the Town Council, which the final reading and vote of the ordinance will be held. We actually placed the ad twice. In 2 consecutive weeks in the Morgan Messenger. Said notices shall state the ordinance has been introduced and that any person interested may appear before council on the second day of July 2024 at 5:30 p.m. and present comments or protests, if any. At such hearing, all objections and suggestions shall be heard and thereafter the council shall take such action as it deems proper. Further, said notice shall advise the public that a copy of this ordinance is available for public inspection at the office of the recorder, Town of Bath, Berkeley Springs, West Virginia. And that completes the second reading of the Berkeley Springs Water Works Town of Bath updated water tariff.
I need a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the ordinance setting forth the rates, fees, and charges for service to customers of the water system of the Town of Bath, Berkeley Springs, as presented.
Second.
I have a motion, a second on the floor for ordinance setting forth the rates, fees, and charges for service to customers of the water system of the Town of Bath, Berkeley Springs. Discussion? All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you, Council.
All right.
Can I ask a question? So the PSC has to approve this?
That is
before-
correct. And the
Yes.
next, as far as the process is concerned at this point, a few things are required. One being that we have to provide financial justification to the PSC for both the capacity fees as well as the increase in tariff. At that time, the PSC would actually say to us, well, your increase is too low. So there are some things that could happen along the way. It's about a 45-day window from this point in time to receive information back from the PSC to have final.
And it was started now since you when it's now 45 days meeting, the PSC will probably approve that or,
Yes, correct.
okay. Thank
That
you.
was fascinating. You said if it was too low, would that change what you'd have to do? You'd have to come back.
They can do that.
They can do that.
No, yeah, okay.
Yeah, they can do that, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they find, based
Might get
on the,
shocked.
on the justification as David has spoke of.
Yeah, I could easily just point to my own numbers and tell you that there's a 5-point need to second water source. The various reasons that basically we're underfunding ourselves.
Right, and I hope it's obvious why I'm asking the question. If people are watching and bracing, as it sounds like they are, getting bad news is one thing, bracing yourself and then getting it a second time is like, being dunked by a wave twice. Actually, that's a pretty good metaphor.
Yeah.
It's very
So-
I'm not clear about this leak adjustment item in the ordinance.
Do you want me to take it?
Could you
Sharon.
explain?
Yeah.
Thank
If
you.
you have a leak on the customer side, it was due to a broken pipe or a toilet's leaking or something like that, and you've had it fixed, you fill out a leak adjustment and bring it into us.
I, the homeowner.
I'm the homeowner, yes. What we do then is we calculate your average over the last 12 months. We multiply that by 200%.
Mhm.
Anything over and above that, we will give you the water at a discounted rate because we still had to clean it. So there's still some costs associated. But instead of being at the $19 per 1,000 gallons, it's at the $2.37 rate.
Oh, I see.
So then we can adjust your bill for that.
Thank you.
And I noticed some of what a few businesses have run into, the problem with the lines near the meters, and I'm not the only, a lot of people have run into this, that part of what you're adjusting in terms of having the funds is to track that down, because some of the leaks are in vulnerable locations. So, all right, just want obviously that you're aware of that, but this is on the marketing side, letting people know that David's like accumulating the funds to go after that. May put a lot of people at some ease that you are planning for things that might really scare, like a $10,000 bill is scary.
Right.
Saying that taking it off the table is a way, hey, you have an extra service. Just back to messaging. So.
Okay.
And one of the ways that we do try to help you there is if we notice your consumption has increased, we actually make calls to notify you.
And we've received
Right,
so- and
exactly.
it's-
So
and
that
it's
gives you a
really-
heads up to go look
Yeah.
for.
Yeah, I
Right.
realize, so I'm trying to help as much as I can see. You're doing a heavy lift. You're going to get pushback. Anything that you can give that reminds people of the benefits they're getting at this point, especially new benefits, is just a great.
Yeah, I mean,
Great way to
14 years between increases is
Yeah.
most municipalities are usually about 5 years in between increases. So it has been, a very long time. And your points are really valid. It was very much with intention to say, okay, what's the number we need to arrive at? The sewer, as an example, they're looking at a 31.5% increase. Much, very, very substantial increase. So, we're thinking, it was really twofold. The water tariff increase was very, very important, but at the same time, not knowing, the unknown factor is what development are we going to see? What does that look like? Are we going to see something as aggressive as a, hotel with 100 rooms, or my greatest fear, data processing center.
Right.
Which we can't accommodate. But a lot of folks don't understand what those demands are like and how much water is required. At 100 to 300,000 gallons of water a day, we can't produce that water.
Yeah.
So that's, so we're very much on top of this ball, and those are good questions.
Thank you. All right. We're gonna move on to the Waterworks report. Dave, you have the floor.
Thank you. So first off, our next meeting is tomorrow at 2:00, 7:03. I do want to first make comment on the 522 extension right away. And Sharon, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we have 2 signatures out of 16. We had 11 properties initially, and we picked up 5 more. Not quite sure why that is. I think it was a just simple administrative issue that we didn't know that we had 5 more to do. But I'd like to reflect on the visit that the superintendent and I had with Gat Creek for questions that they had, and it's raised my awareness, and it's also raised the superintendent's awareness of how important it is for us to actually not worry about as much the sign off, although that's important to get, but we need to actually visit each one of these sites. And so what happened with Gat Creek? First off, they're a wonderful neighbor, and they're not a customer of ours. They won't be a customer of ours. They may be a customer of the sewer system. But the plan was for us to go through their property. And of course, Gat Creek needed to inform not only us, Thrasher, that there was a lot of things wrong. Fundamentally, Thrasher had they were out of date on terms of their maps. There was theoretically reasons why the water line was being pushed up this way, and the thought process was just outright wrong. Instead of going and avoiding a sewer line, they were actually putting us right on top of the sewer line. We're supposed to be 10 feet away. These were the kind of things that Gat Creek, the owner, is going to be very sensitive to, because they do all that. And if you look at their process, it looked like urban planning to me, because there is so much under the ground at Gat Creek. If you look at it like I do, it's a paved parking lot. Well, there is a lot underneath there. We couldn't get a straight line through their property on the edge, and their building is pushed out. The building is not on the map, so the map was wrong that way. The sewer line was not, well, it was acknowledged, and if they were attempting to tell the PSD that they were going to take over Gat Creek sewer, that would have been fine, but it's not so fine for a water line to be smack on top of a sewer line. So these are the kind, I'm not throwing Thrasher under the bus, but for our due diligence, and the thing that we got caught with on the paving project is, don't find out about this stuff later. You find out about this stuff 2 years from now, it cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. In the case of Gat Creek, easily hundreds of thousands of dollars. They've got a storm drain that is very limiting. They have an extremely high-powered line that goes under the ground. It's so high-powered, I'm afraid the water line would melt being near it. It's like 19,000 volts. It's really high-powered. I'd prefer if we went around it entirely, but to go around it, we got to deal with a storm drain. So this may actually require us to say, you know what? I think you need to have additional planning, additional cost. And even if it's in there, I'd rather suck up having to pay additional cost now than at time of construction. So being on the site made me so sensitive to the difficulties in that site. Both myself and the superintendent agreed that we want to visit all the people. Quite frankly, I can hear the complaint about the government that I don't want them on my property. This is a good example of why it is insensitivity can be harmful. So I think we need to make that visit. And, for the most part, I'm expecting that it's pretty obvious. The damage to the individual homeowner should be that we're going to cut through your pavement, your driveway, and that should be the only thing. But if it was as complicated as Gat Creek, that's a big headache. And we are going to have another meeting, this time with the sewer department there at the same time, which is what Gat Creek wanted. And I didn't understand it at the time because sewer was on the other side of the road. Well, maybe they shouldn't be on the other side of the road. Maybe we should be on the other side of the road. So one thing or another, a lot of options can be explored. But when you're dealing with paper, it's easier to explore all the possibilities. I've seen about 4 or 5 possibilities. All of them have problems. All of them have the sewer line and the water line crisscrossing each other. All of them are going to cost something. I'd rather us figure out what is the best plan, not just for the immediate future, but what's the long-term issue. So the long-term can be, it can be costly as well. So instead of having a water line doing all this sort of thing, maybe a straight line sometimes, but shifting over where it makes sense.
Sure.
And are you under pavement? So that That's, and I believe we are dealing with 2 signatures. Is that correct on that
Correct.
right away?
Mhm.
So I'm hoping that by the end of the summer, we can improve willingness by customers to sign off if we actually pay them visits. Secondly, I'd like to talk about maintenance, preventive maintenance. I put that on the chart there on the list that I wanted to do preventative maintenance. We certainly have our problems with crises. The superintendent has a plan to get full inventory. He's working with an outside organization to be able to take inventory of all of the assets, not just trucks and cars, but pumps and everything that's down there, so that we can start to set up a process. And that 20,000 that I'm allocating for this year is mostly administrative. Once we have that list, we have somebody who's checking things off and saying, you know what, we need to do this then, we need to do this then. One of those things that we simply haven't done is take the fire hydrants and run them out. We already knew from this past month that some of the fire hydrants, they should have been upgraded, and we have parts, but I don't know if they were ever upgraded. So having the maintenance schedule to say, you need to do all of these fire hydrants would be an ideal thing. So I think even if all I'm getting is an administrator who's putting on the table of this month, these things have to happen, would be a big step forward in avoiding situations where pumps break. Plan to replace them, plan to grease them, plan to know something about them. Third item I want to talk about was the WPT grant, the water treatment plant. So the 1.6 million, that is not part of the rate increase. The only thing that I've got in the rate increase is that once the WTP upgrade happens and we forget something, those, basically change orders that we end up having to pay for later, that we're accounting for that in the way of contingency. That's the only impact on the rate increase. The grant, now that I'm finished with worrying about how to account for the rate increase, this month I plan on pressing forward with the grant, and I'm going to be calling on you, Mary, and also pushing forward with Region 9. I've already reached out to the county commissioners. I'm hoping to talk to them. So far, they haven't responded back to me yet. I'm hoping the next cycle around to be able to communicate with them. And lastly, as of tomorrow, we're behind schedule in terms of developing a budget. Quite frankly, I don't think there was enough of respect for the purpose of a budget. I want a budget that actually reflects what we're going to actually do. So we're going to begin that process as of tomorrow and through the next, I'll say, 2 months or so. Even though we're going to be behind, we should have had it done as of 7/1. I'd much rather it reflect some of the things that I have in here on the rate increase, as well as some of the realities. When we went over budget by 60, it may be 65,000 for this past year, we got a lot of rethinking why it is we went over budget, to be able to either make them continuous or do some cost management to decide how to control those things. My suspicion is they're all a reflection of what's going to have to be made permanent, which is built into that rate increase. And that's my report.
Thank you, Dave.
A lot of things going on.
Yep. Well, we got her done,
No
so.
problem with the date. It doesn't matter if it extends.
What's that?
You just said you weren't done with the budget. You got to do it. That's not a problem.
So I'm sure somebody's going to want to slap my hands, and I'm going to deal with it.
Okay, never mind.
As far as what is sent to the PSC, that's sent in October, and that's the date that I'm going to worry about. So PSC, if you actually go online, you can actually get all the budgets and all the finances, which is what I've been going through for the past 3 weeks or so. So you can get retrospectively what was a summary of the budget.
I guess what I was asking is there's no penalty for it, doesn't it?
No.
They're just sort of like,
I'm not
we'd rather have
expecting
it done
a penalty.
right. and a little bit later then, but better to do it.
It's a bit more of an internal process to give the accountant the information she needs to prepare the paperwork for the October deadline.
Yeah, absolutely. Delay if you can't do it right. then don't
I
do it.
prefer that the budgeting was done more reflective of reality.
Okay, good deal. I'll come to the point in the meeting. Is there anything else that council members need to bring up? If not, I will open the floor.
I have one quick thing, Scott. I just wanted to give a progress update of several council meetings back. Greg Sheen and myself were tasked with doing performance evaluations for Rick, who heads up the water department, and for our town clerk. And we have started that process. We're doing it differently, reflective of best practices, and it starts with the employees themselves doing a self-evaluation where they can detail their accomplishments and their challenges. And they are also invited to set professional goals for the new fiscal year. We're a little behind schedule. We expect to complete all of this by July 15. And once we get the feedback from each of our supervisors, we will set about the process of writing an evaluation that will be shared with the employees in advance of actually meeting to go over that. So it's not an ambush situation. There's time to thoughtfully review what we've put in there and move forward in a good way. So.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thanks, Mary. All right, I will open the floor up to anybody that wants to speak to us. You have 3 minutes to speak with us.
I got
So-
less than 30-second one.
All right.
How many people like ice cream? Just checking, okay, you gotta, where's the energy? So it's National Ice Cream Day on July 21st. I don't know why any government comes up with national ice cream, but it is kind of cool. It must have had nothing going on in the legislative session to do something like that. However, we're gonna be doing something benefiting the Black Cat Lazy Sunday, probably something outdoor. We're still putting it together, so prepare to eat ice cream on July 21st. This sneaky thing underneath, I'm thinking of doing an ice cream anti-social, which is pool noodles at 5 feet where the loser buys the ice cream. But I'm just floating stuff because I like playing. So I thought I'd put that out there. Have fun.
All right, thanks, Paul. Anybody else? Okay, if not, I'll ask council for a comment consent to adjourn.